Have you ever dented your toolbox or maybe a big cabinet door? Well, in this case, I have a drawer here with a large dent in it, and I want to see if I can remove this dent and make it look as close to new as possible. Looking at the side here, it's a little hard to tell exactly how much bend or dent is in this drawer. That is until I take a straight edge and put up against it. And you can see just at the top here, it's pushed in about 1 inch, and it's even more down lower where it actually got hit. Now, if I was to try and push this out by hand, that ain't gonna happen. This is thick gauge steel, so I really need something hard to press this back out. Also, if you look on the left side of the handle of this drawer, you can see this right here has been twisted upward. This piece of plastic, this face right here should be facing down, but it's almost facing straight out, so there's quite a bit of twist there that we need to get out as well. Since I never fixed a dent like this before, I looked up online, and the most popular ways to do it was one, you could heat this up real hot and throw some ice water on it, but I'm pretty sure those are for smaller dents, and as you can tell, this is quite large. The other one was to heat it up and use a large flat hammer, which sounds like it would work, but I'm pretty sure that would mess up the paint as well, and I was hoping to keep it as original as possible. So my next thought was maybe a large piece of wood on the front, maybe a small 1 or 2 pieces on the back, and then a large C-clamp. Would that work? I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Looking at the side of the drawer, you'll see that the front is not super thick, but it is braced by the side over here, so it does have some strength. So I believe I'm just going to use a 2x4, and if for some reason this doesn't feel like it's holding well enough, I can always get a little bit wider with a 2x6. But I can't go all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top because both of them have lips, so I am a little bit limited. To help protect the paint on the top of this handle here, I'm just going to use an old t-shirt and just drape it over the top, just so it's not metal on metal. Here's what the front looks like when it's all put together. Now, I did notice that this clamp, the center of it is about 1 inch above where the actual dent is. The dent is closer to being about here. But I'm going to give this a shot, and if it doesn't work, I'll try something else. Now, when I start turning this, it's going to be a slow process. I'm only going to go maybe 1 revolution, and then I'm going to check, make sure I'm not bending any metal or about to crack any wood, and then we'll continue on. So far, it feels pretty good. I think all I'm doing is flexing the wood right now, so I may have to change. Oh! Did you hear that? That's awesome! It's coming back into place. Let's see if we can tell. Hard to tell at the moment, but it's starting to work. Keep going. Okay, let's check the sides. So far, so good. Keep going. Oh, a little plastic on the end just fell out, so, well, it's working, but let's keep going. Okay, we have reached max. The wood is now touching the metal. A little hard to see here, but I need to rearrange this and see what we got. It's a little hard to see, but I can tell that part of the indentation on this side of the drawer has popped back out. This side still has a little bit in the center. It definitely has to come out some more. I'll reposition the clamp, so now it is a little offset of the actual dent. The dent is closer to around about here, and so I position it over about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, with the hopes it'll pull out the dents that are on the left side of the drawer. It might be able to stick, yeah, I can actually stick my finger in here, so you can see how much of a recess there still is. And here's attempt number 2. And it has bottomed out. The wood is touching the metal and nothing popped. So I have to figure out a way to get the metal to flex a little bit more and keep the wood from flexing at all. My next thought is to take some scrap wood, or in this case some 1/2 inch MDF, and I'm just going to use some painter's tape to temporarily put it in position, and that'll allow it to stay there long enough so I can get this 2x4 up into position. And that'll give me at least another 1/2 inch of hopefully clearance for this metal to pop out. Here goes attempt number 3. Oh, there goes one pop. Alright, we're back to wood touching the metal again. A At least we got one pop out of that. Let's see what it actually did. I'm sorry to say that I actually have some sad news. As I was releasing the tension off of this clamp, the metal popped right back into position that it was. So whatever popped out went back. So I guess I'm gonna have to use some different clamps, try to get a little bit lower and pop this completely out. My next option is to use these deep clamps. These will allow me to get much further down on the drawer and hopefully get those lower dents out. Now I do have to say that these clamps are not going to be nearly as strong as the original one we were using, and that's because they stretch further out. But I'm hoping that if I use both of these at the same time, it'll give me somewhat similar of the strength that this one had. Alright, I got the clamp into position. I've clamped it down. It's pulling everything out. But I have a feeling that if I go much further that I'm going to actually flex the metal too far out. But I'll give it a shot just for you. Let's see what we can do here. Oh, good. There's one pop. I'm going to go just a little bit further. Let's see. I'm nervous I might break this clamp. So let's take this off and see if it actually pops back inward. So far so good. Oh, yep, see it went right back in. I'm trying to figure out how to keep this out. I may actually have to apply some heat to this metal. I don't want to do that, but I might have to. Let's test what we have so far and see how well it does. Okay, I can tell that the drawer is going pretty close, and it kind of pops a little bit as it's going back in. That's not surprising since there's a good chance that all the runners on it were bent just slightly due to that injury, but at least it closes. You can also notice that the handle interferes a little bit with the drawer above it. Once it's out, the top drawer does fine, but it still just interferes. So let's see about working on flexing this back into position, and then we can go further on the drawer. And to do this next step, I've actually moved the drawer onto my workbench for a couple reasons. One, it gets me off the floor so I don't have to keep bending down. And two, it'll hopefully help me keep from messing up the runners on the side of this drawer so everything will go back together real nicely. Looking at this handle a little bit closer, I noticed that the handle itself doesn't appear to have been bent, at least not upward. It appears that the metal right here actually bent, and we might be able to straighten that out. I just got to be careful not to mess up this handle. But wait, I think there's an actual cover on this. Hold on, let me see. Oh, yeah. This handle fortunately will slide off, or at least the cover on it will. So then we can do all the bending on this inner piece and then slide this back and you'll never know. So that's a great option. If you happen to have that, make sure you remove that cover. Now that I'm not overly concerned if I scratch the paint on this handle, I'm just going to use some pliers to try and straighten it out. But I am going to put a piece of wood right here underneath it, so hopefully I don't scratch up the face. And I'm just going to grab it and we'll just give it some slight pulls. There might be some popping of the wood or the metal. And hopefully we can get it pretty straight. I was able to bend part of the handle back into position, but because of this bend in it, it's being real difficult. So I'm going to take those MDF pieces that we had from before, we're going to put them in position here, lay the drawer so that it's face down onto my workbench, and try and pull those dents out. When I released the clamp, most of it stayed in position. That's because I overextended it just slightly with the clamp. So when I released the pressure and it kind of flexed back, it was almost straight, except right over here, closer to the edge, it's still warped just a little bit. So I'm going to repeat that process and hopefully it'll be nice and straight. Now if we look down the edge here, it's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better than it was. Now that I'm happy with the handle, there are a couple dents, kind of creases going along here, and that one major dent in the front that I want to take care of. So I laid out that shirt we were using earlier and I put it face down again. I'm going to take a little punch with a hammer and try and tap these a little bit further down, but if you listen, it is already a little flexible right there, so I think it might be possible. After a good bit of tapping, I got the majority of this dent out. It's not perfect, but it's at least a lot smoother than it was. The creases that are around here are a little more faint. They're not perfect, but I'm not a professional at this, and this is a lot better than it ever was, and so I'm happy with this. Now if you choose, you can always maybe study some paintless dent removal and get every bit of this out, but that's totally up to you. Okay, now for the moment of truth. Yes! Wait, hold on. Does this hit? No, that one doesn't hit, and this goes in so smooth. Yes! Now depending on the angle in which you look at this, sometimes you can see it a little bit more than others. If you get down low, I mean, you can see that it's blemished right there. But seriously, how often do you look that close at a toolbox? I doubt it. Overall, I'm very pleased. Now I hope this simple fix shows you that if you take your time and you go real slow and just work at it really easy, you can fix things, or at least make them look a lot better really easily. That way you don't have to always call a handyman or somebody else to come fix your stuff. So I hope this inspires you to get out in your shop and not only have fun building, but have fun repairing as well.